Today I want to talk about every major college football and mid-major college football conference has decided to play football in a pandemic and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about the return of college football for the Mid-American Conference. That would be the MAC, and the Pac-12 Conference, which, you can take or leave, and the Mountain West Conference. All decided to return to football in the matter of the last 24 hours. All of which had decided to cancel fall football just 2 months ago. And yet, here we are, because apparently everybody was looking for daily testing for antigens to be regular as a part of their proposal. Instead of just coming out and saying that in the beginning, they're going, hey, wait a second. Since the Big Ten has decided that it can make it about face, everybody's making it about face. And I get it. I understand that you don't want to be left out. I also think that it's kind of funny that everybody's decided to play college football, at least in part, in a pandemic. With the MAC going with a 6-game schedule that starts on November 6th, and then we have a 7-game schedule from the Pac-12 that starts on November 6th, and we get an 8-game schedule from the Mountain West starting on October 24th, which is the same weekend that the Big Ten is supposed to come back, which means that we will have some teams that have played as many as 6 games by week 7, and some that haven't played any at all that are going to be ranked inside the top 25. All while we're still watching college football being played presently, with the SEC and the Big 12 kicking off their conference schedules this weekend, and the Big 12 already having had teams play, for good and for bad, in non-conference games. The SEC, going with its conference only, is going to play football for the first time on Saturday. Some big games kicking off there, one of which I'm going to keep my eye on, Florida and Ole Miss. I think Arkansas and Georgia's just fun, right? I just want to see how badly that could go. And then Alabama traveling Mizzou is going to be interesting as well. But the reason that I want to talk about this is not necessarily give you the treetops of when people are deciding to play football and that people have decided to play football. I imagine that if you watch this show, you keep up with the goings-on of college football in the way that I kind of do. You're just here to get my opinion on what's going on. Now, as it relates to COVID-19 and playing football, I've been hurt on that. What I'm here to talk to you about is my idea that the college football playoff should expand from 4 teams to 16 teams. Yes, you should make every conference champion an automatic qualifier, because we know that the teams that are returning also want to play conference championships. I think it's going to be wild to try to figure out which one of those Mountain West teams in an 8-game schedule gets in. And even more wilder, if you were, not to be confused with Charlotte, who does great work, to see who gets in from the MAC. Give everybody the same opportunity to get beat down by Alabama and Clemson, because that's what we're really talking about. And since every single team is going to be bowl eligible, congratulations to Arkansas and Nebraska for being bowl eligible for the first time in 4 or 5 years collectively. Bravo. You worked very hard to get to this point. You should be proud of what you have done, going over in the Big Ten, going over in the SEC, and still getting to play in a bowl game, in which case, put Nebraska and Arkansas in a bowl game if that happens, because somebody's O has got to go. But I'm being very serious when I say I want to see an expansion of a playoff, because I've always wanted to see an expansion of a playoff, and I think this is the best time to try out an expansion of the playoff, and you can fold in those bowl games. You're only going to have, all 129 teams eligible to play now that everybody's coming back. And the bowls have said, we're not doing the thing where we want to pick from the best teams. And the NCAA has said, we're not doing the thing where we're even going to make you be eligible. We're just going to say, if you played football, you're eligible for a bowl. So if you can get people to buy into you going to a bowl game, by all means have it. Add to this, the conference championship games are going to be played on the weekend of December 18th through the 19th, by and large, which means a week before Christmas, we're going to get a really nice present, which is meaningful football being played a week before Christmas in college football. Whereas we're used to having like a 2 to 3 week hiatus between meaningful football and the end of the regular season. Meaningful football meaning conference championships to, the New Year's Six and or the college football playoff, where people are really playing for something. I don't really count the Music City Bowl as being worth a damn, or the Tax Slayer Bowl. The Belk Bowl is great because the Twitter account is great, not because the Belk Bowl is traditionally great. You know what I'm saying there? Like, there's some bowls here that have some tradition. Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl, Sugar Bowl, even the Gator Bowl. But some of these other bowls that have popped up, like the Red Box Bowl, which is a real thing that Illinois played in last year, I'm good with that. But if you go to a 16-team playoff, you get every team in that should be in. You also can seed it however you want to. And you give people an opportunity to play for something that is worthwhile, which is to say, not only are you playing to win your conference championship, you're playing to get automatically eligible for the opportunity to play for a national championship, unlike anything we've ever seen in major college football. We see a 24-team playoff in the FCS every single year, and they manage to make it work every single year. And the teams that we expect to win it are the ones that are there at the end every single year. Nobody here is going to bet against North Dakota State in a regular year of FCS football. Nobody's going to bet against James Madison to be there at the end either. You're not going to bet on San Diego to come out of the Pioneer League and win the national championship, because that's not how that works, even as they've lorded over that league for years. And if I sound like I have a lot of knowledge about the FCS, it's because I do, because I love college football, which is the point of trying to expand this playoff. Because in expanding this playoff, you make it a national sport as opposed to a regional one. The people that care about SEC football are 3 times as many as the ones that care about Pac-12 football. In large part because the Pac-12 doesn't play for national championships because they're not usually that good. But if you get your Cinderella stories, if you can get a Northern Iowa and an Ali Farokhmanesh, if you can get a Gordon Hayward and a Butler and a Brad Stevens, if you can get the odd, really great Long Beach Poly story, you can make it into what the NCAA tournament has become, which is a national spectacle where the casuals are super invested because the casuals make a sport a major sport. That's why in the NBA right now, the story that nobody's talking about is that we were this close to having the Lakers versus the Celtics in the NBA Finals in a year in which the NBA could really use the national television audience to go through the roof. And that could be thwarted with Lakers and Heat, which is compelling for NBA fans. It's not as compelling for the casual fan who doesn't really follow the NBA day-to-day like me. It's also really interesting at a time when, like the UFC has managed to turn itself into something of a national sport with a tremendous subculture. Matter of fact, you can listen to me and Jeff Dickerson talk about the outcome of UFC 253 on game night on ESPN Radio. I'm very excited about that because I like watching the last Stylebender fight. The last time I watched Paulo DaCosta fight, yeah, that man was going against Yoel Romero, and that was a slugfest. And also, Paulo is like a walking muscle kind of dude that puts powerlifter on his resume and nothing else, and the last Stylebender is exactly that. Both of those dudes have tremendous striking percentage and finishes. Like 72% of Adesanya's fights finish with a finish, and 92% of Costa's finish with a finish. But to college football, I would like to see it finish with an absolute national championship for the first time in, ever. Because I don't like voting on who the national champion is. I want the scoreboard to settle that. I don't want to see undefeated teams go 1, 2, or 3. I want to see undefeated teams have to play each other for the right to be called a national champion. Because like you, I'm not really all here for Central Florida being a national champion, but I'm not going to take a national championship away from them when they didn't lose a game. That's just the way that this works. We're also looking at a year in which BYU and Army are going to have to try to figure this out. Now, Army's independent, and that's going to be a thing unto itself. But BYU plays the Mountain West schedule, and now that the Mountain West is back, I want to know how that's going to go. They also have to play an Army team later on, we thought, that got postponed. That was going to be pretty good, but now Army's going to play Cincinnati. The American has to be feeling some kind of way about this because it felt like the American was going to have an opportunity to make the college football playoff precisely because the Big Ten, the Pac-12, Mountain West, and the MAC were not playing. To say nothing of, we don't really value the Mountain West and the MAC in the way that we value the Big Ten or the Pac-12. But I would love to see an American team that is able to qualify get an opportunity to play in this game because I get it. Not everybody's going to be on par with Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson. Those are probably going to be your 3 best teams this year. But if there was one, I would love to see Buffalo get a win against Ohio State if at all possible. And I'm sure Ohio State fans are like, bring on Buffalo. We would love to get that matchup. And you win a few games, you get to a national championship, and we get the fun season of college football, as opposed to the one that is just in the doldrums where we're just waiting on postponements. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.